Hello and welcome to Dish Shelved with Adam White. Today is a Yeee-Haul. They're not all westerns, but there's several westerns and some vintage science fiction. Basically, I went to Pulpfest number 50, the 50th anniversary of Pulpfest, and I went last year too. And it's a really awesome event where they have a convention floor where you can get old pulp magazines and vintage paperbacks and just all sorts of stuff, original art and paintings, and it's just a really, really neat event. And they have panels with authors and pulp historians, and it's just a really good time. If you're anywhere near it at all, I'd suggest going. It takes place in Pittsburgh, so it's a ways off from me, but it's worth the trip. This is my tag from it. Uh, but it was a really good time, and I got a lot of cheap vintage paperbacks. That was my mission this year, and I decided that I wanted to go and search through all their back bins of $2 vintage paperbacks or six for $10. I mean, they have some of them sell really expensive books and really expensive first editions and stuff like that, but I stuck to the cheap stuff. But and I really don't have any place to put any of this, but I just couldn't resist getting it. I'm also coming to you from a super secret location, which is really just another room of my house, but I needed a little more space to do this video. So without any further ado, I'll go into the ones I got. Kill and Tell, which is a book about, let's see, there's a mysterious letter from a private eye that brings him to a place called Jewel Bay. He finds that it just ends up in, of course, murder, and but it's got a private eye in it. It would have been good for Dick Timber, but I just couldn't get caught up enough to take place or to take part in that event. But Kill and Tell, I thought it was a really cool cover. That's basically what I went on when I got these books. I just kind of picked out based on their covers. So Kill and Tell. I won't say a whole lot about each of these just because it'll take too long. So this one is The Space-Time Juggler by John Brunner. I've read a John Brunner book, The Infinitive of Go, and I really enjoyed it. And I ended up with several of his books. This is an ace double. It also has The Astronauts Must Not Land, which is a very ominous title. So, but this is an ace double. I got several ace doubles. Several of them, John Brunner on both sides. But The Astronauts Must Not Land and The Space-Time Juggler, I'm looking forward to those. I got Slan, a classic by A. Van Vogt. I have had this on my list to read for a while. I was going to get it on Kindle, but I saw that it was available there at the convention, so I picked up a copy with this cool old cover. Again, I picked these mostly based on covers, or if it was something that I knew I was trying to get. Alpha Centauri or Die by Leigh Brackett, another famous author. I thought I really wanted to just pick up something of hers. She wrote a lot of good stuff, a lot of good old science fiction. So Alpha Centauri or Die. And then the other is The Legend of Lost Earth by G. MacDonald Wallace. Don't know anything about it, but thought it was kind of an interesting cover. And I wanted the Leigh Brackett book, so I thought, well, what the heck, I'll just get that one too. Like I said, these were all cheap paperbacks. Another John Brunner, Castaway's World. Love that cover. Just, again, strange vintage science fiction. Castaway's World, What Price Planetary Survival. So that's really interesting. And then I also got The Rights of O by John Brunner again. So I've got a lot of John Brunner to read. Uh, which is good. This is a strange cover with an alien looking guy there and what appears to be a tree or something strange there attached to an orb. But I really liked this cover a lot, and I like John Brunner, so I picked it up as well. Another John Brunner, this one's called Polymath. Again, don't know much about it, but it's an interesting cover. I just ended up, I was looking through a row and they were mostly John Brunner, so I just went ahead and picked them up and thought, well, what the heck. I've got the opportunity. They're really cheap. I'll pick this up. This one's not an ace double, but it's another one of John Brunner's that I got. Interesting cover, plane crashing there and an interesting landscape. So I thought it'd be a good book. Okay, next I've got, if I can get it, House of Storm. It's just another, it says, I can't take any more, Jim Shaw said. If I don't leave, I'll kill her. He left Beaten Island that day. So it's some kind of mystery crime novel. I thought it looked really interesting. I liked the cover, just a good old pulpy crime cover. So I decided to get that. Now we finally got a Western by William Colt McDonald called Showdown Trail. I thought that was really just a nice painted Western cover. Showdown Trail sounded good. The Red Rider of Smoky Range. So he turned and faced Quinn Barker along the shimmering steel of his gun barrel, the man who had beaten him, robbed him, and smoked him off his island. So I'd say that's probably not going to turn out too good for Quinn Barker because it's probably some kind of revenge story. So that's another good one that I got. Gunsmoke and Trail Dust by Bliss Lomax. That has the distinction of being the most interesting author's name, I think, out of this whole bunch. Bliss Lomax. Somehow I doubt that's their real name, but it's an interesting pick for a name. I love the cover. Cowboy smoking a cigarette, got his gun, Gunsmoke and Trail Dust. I thought that'd really be good. I've got some stuff for June on the Range next year. Then I got another Western, The Tall Men by Clay Fisher. Another great cover, a wagon train. I thought it was a really interesting cover. And a lot of these I didn't even read the backs. I just kind of went based on covers. But this was a really neat cover, a wagon train, like I said. And another one for future, that She Shall Have Murder by Delano Ames, which has actually turned out to be the first in a line of mysteries about these characters. I have a full review coming up of this one, probably next week. And so I was glad that I picked out this one because it was a good book, and it was the first in a series, so I've gotten consequently a few others that I've ordered in this series that I can find, but most of them are long out of print. This one I think was from like 48 or 50 or something. But you'll see more about that in my full review of that. Also got this one, Code Duelo by Mac Reynolds. It was the only one it's a series of like 7 books. Um, the United Planets books. And I have every other one of them in paperback except this one. And I had it on Kindle, but then I saw it as part of an Ace Double, so I went ahead and got it so I'd have them all uh, in paperback. I'm going to do a review of at least the first one of those, and it looks really good. And then it's an Ace Double with The Age of Ruin by John Fawcett. He fought his way across an alien Earth no man had ever mapped. And it's interesting. It's got a guy who's doing it with a bow and arrow. He's got a woman in the background there. They're scantily clad. Very interesting. But I mainly got this one for Code Duelo because I've got all the others in paperback of this series. And I'm fully intend on reading those. This one, Wolf Cop by Richard Jessup. Sorella was too good to be bought, too big to be bent. He was an honest cop, a loner who wouldn't run with the pack. That's why they called him Wolf Cop. Great cover painting. Thought that sounded interesting. Any kind of lone wolf cop story is going to be good. I mean, let's face it, that's what pulp stories are all about. Really looking forward to this one. Ramrod Rider by T.V. Olson. This is a writer that Michael K. Vaughan likes. I saw this and thought, well, that's a great cover painting. And T.V. Olson I knew from Michael K. Vaughan recommending him. And that was more than enough to get this one. It looks really good. I can't wait to read it. Another Western. Got Clifford D. Sommack, The Werewolf Principle. I've got several Clifford D. Sommack books. I've done a review of a couple of them so far already. And this is one that I wanted to read, but I didn't have. So I picked it up. I'm looking forward to reading it. I really like Clifford D. Sommack. And I may have even got this on Kindle first and then didn't realize it, so I bought this one. But it's got a really cool cover, so I'm happy with it. And also by Clifford D. Sommack, I got City, which I've already done a review on. And I had it and read it on Kindle, but I saw this book with this great robot cover painting, and I just thought, I need to have a copy of that. Not that I've got any place to put all this stuff, but I really like the cover to this, and I thought, you know what, City's such a great novel. I need to have a physical copy of it. So I got that. Then I got Texas Rangers by Eugene Cunningham. Another pulpy cover. Just thought it looked like a good Western, so I picked it up. Murder on the Rocks by Robert Dietrich. Interesting cover, minimalist cover, but it really was eye-catching. Of course, they used the yellows. They had lots of pulp and vintage paperbacks use yellows and reds to really catch the eye. But I thought Murder on the Rocks sounded good, so I went ahead and picked it up. Next is Six Gun Vengeance by Dudley Dean. If you're going to have Six Gun Vengeance, that's enough for me. It sounds like a good pulpy Western, good cover. But Six Gun Vengeance sounded like a perfect title. So I'm looking forward to reading this one too. The Fighting Texan by Will Cook. Again, yellow and red on the cover. The powerful saga of a gunfighter. Of course it's a gunfighter. It's a pulp Western. There was magic in Jim Quartermain's hands, the magic to kill a man, but the Texan wore a star, and his gun skill was on the side of the law. So he's a good guy, but he's very skilled with a gun, and that always leads to trouble. So again, great Western, looking forward to that. And then finally, A.E. Van Vogt's The Mind Cage. I just thought it was a really cool cover. And A.E. Van Vogt's a good writer, so I just went ahead and picked it up. I was rounding out a stack of books I was getting from somebody, and I thought this one looked cool. Something else they did at the convention was they gave everybody a free issue of fantasy and science fiction. It's a it's a it's a bi-monthly, I believe, magazine, digest sized, that is it usually has a lot of really good stories in it. This one's main short stories by Nalo Hopkinson has the cover. I haven't got to it yet, but I'm interested in reading this. And usually, if I'm in a bookstore and see it, I'll pick up the newest issue of fantasy and science fiction because they have really good stories in them. And I highly recommend picking it up if you see a copy in the bookstore. The next thing is really interesting. The Burroughs Bulletin. This is about Edgar Rice Burroughs. And you get this if you're part of the Burroughs Bibliophiles, which I'm part of. You can join online. Just check out their website, the Burroughs Bibliophiles. And I had just gotten, you get 4 issues of of this journal, the Burroughs Bulletin, and I had just gotten mine, which was number 103, and it was all about Tarzan and had a timeline of Tarzan in it. Lots of interesting history about Tarzan and the publication of Tarzan. But it was issue 103. This one was issue 100 through 102. It was a special 3-issue edition of it. It was the one that came right before the one I got as my first edition, so I bought this one because it has some stuff to do with the one that I got. The Burroughs Bibliophiles are really cool. You just get access to these journals, which have a lot of information about Edgar Rice Burroughs and his history and the printing of his books and histories of his characters. And I went ahead and picked this up, and I'm looking forward to getting more in the future. I'm not sure how often they come out, maybe quarterly, but I'd been a member for about a year, and I've only gotten one, so it may be a little bit more than that in between them. But so I went ahead and picked this up to have to go with my other one that I had that again had a lot of stuff with Tarzan. But if you're interested, just Google search Burroughs Bibliophiles, and they've got a lot of really cool stuff on their website. And if you join, which it isn't very expensive, it's only like 30 or 35 bucks, and you get 4 issues of this journal, and you get monthly, I believe, newsletter, and you also get to join. They have it's kind of like a Skype session where all the members are invited to be part of a multiple persons Skype. It's not really Skype. You just get an email and it has a link to it. I think it's Zoom actually. But you get to be part of that and can discuss Edgar Rice Burroughs with other ERB fans. And that is usually a monthly event too. I've done 1 or 2, but always felt kind of out of place because everybody knows so much more than I do. But I'll probably do another one in the future. But it's a really cool thing. I'd highly recommend if you read Tarzan or John Carter of Mars or any other Burroughs stuff. I would highly recommend checking out Burroughs Bibliophiles because they're really cool. The last thing I've got to show you is the Pulpster, which is the official magazine of Pulpfest. I haven't read this one yet. Last year's was really cool. They've got a lot of stuff about the history of pulps and vintage paperbacks. And as you can see, really cool covers. There's the red and yellow again, uh, to really make things stand out on the cover. It's a really cool magazine that you get for going to the convention. Right now on the Pulpfest website, I believe you can still they have some leftover issues of this, and you can get them. I think they're like $10. But I would highly recommend checking that out because it's a really cool magazine with a lot of good information in it, and just stuff about the history of pulps and vintage paperbacks and lots of good stuff. So I'd highly recommend checking that out. Check out Pulpfest's website. They have a lot of cool stuff on it. They update it more as it gets closer. Pulpfest takes place in August each year. And It's just a really cool event all around. Well, I've talked way too long on this one, but I wanted to show you what I picked up at Pulpfest, and I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been a Yeee-Haul. Like I said, it wasn't all it wasn't all westerns, but I'm gonna call it a Yeee-Haul anyway because that's the best thing I can come up with. So I hope you enjoyed this little or large rather checking out of what I got at Pulpfest, and I would recommend it to anyone. Check out the Pulpfest website, check out the Burroughs Bibliophiles website, and thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you guys next week.